But I've had a couple of interesting things happen with these blood tests that kind of I didn't really expect, which is I'm going to talk about as well. Hi guys, so I've had some more blood tests done and I wanted to run through those today. If you haven't been here before, my name is Sue. I've been on a carnivore diet now for just about 18 months and I'm finally getting around to having some blood tests done. I haven't had any blood tests done for about 9 years prior to this. So I'm just kind of getting started. I had some testing done about 4 weeks ago and I did another video. If you go back, there's a video talking about that. And so since then I've had another couple of lot of blood tests done. The reason that I'm having them done in bits and pieces is just the cost factor and just getting them done as I can. So what I'll do is I'll talk about the tests that I've had done and the reference levels on the pathology report, and then I'm going to compare that to the reference levels in Dr. Ken Berry's Common Sense Labs book, because I've bought a copy of that and there's some variation there. There's always variation between different laboratories and that as well. So, but I've had a couple of interesting things happen with these blood tests that kind of I didn't really expect, which is I'm going to talk about as well. So if you haven't seen my video from a couple of weeks ago, what I had done then was I'd done a lipid panel and an Hba1C. They were the two things that I really wanted to check out first. And so in those tests, my triglycerides were 0.7, and according to one of the New Zealand websites here, you want them to be under 1.7, which of course mine are. HDL was 1.57, and according to the website I was looking at, you want that to be over 1.0. And the total cholesterol ratio, mine was 4.4, and they're saying less than 4.0. But that's because my LDL was up a little bit. It was 5.0, I think. If you want to go back and check that video, you can find out for sure. But so that's where they're at. My Hba1C was 35, and the reference range on the laboratory report was 0 to 40. My fasting glucose is 5.0, and the reference range was 3.0 to 7.8. My fasting insulin was 82, and the reference range was 18 to 173. So these reference ranges are from the pathology report, okay? Some of them are quite different to the Common Sense Labs book. My HS-CRP was 7.6, and the reference range is 0 to 8. My vitamin D was 81, and the reference range was 50 to 150. And my ApoB was 1.19, and the reference range is 0.55 to 1.30. Now let's dig into these a little bit, and I'll try and explain what some of these tests are, just in case you don't know, as well as I understand them, and also the different reference ranges that Ken Berry has in that book. So the triglycerides, in Dr. Ken Berry's book, he's got optimal range as being less than 1.13. So that's quite a bit less than the 1.7 that I found on the New Zealand website here. And the HDL, his reference is greater than 1.55, and mine was 1.57. So I'm still within those ranges from the Common Sense Lab book, only just with the HDL, but I'm quite happy with that. And there's room for improvement, and I hope to improve, but at this stage I'm quite happy. So my triglyceride to HDL ratio is 4.4, and the recommended on that site is 4.0. Now looking back at my last two lots of blood tests, they were from 2011 and 2014, so that's quite a long time ago. In 2011 I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, and so there was a bunch of stuff going on, but my ratio was 9.5, which is pretty huge. That's supposed to be supposedly a indicator for cardiac stuff, and so yeah, but I guess with Graves' disease or overactive thyroid, my heart was going like a million miles an hour all the time, so there's bound to be a bit of stuff going on with the cardiac side of things. Now my Hba1C was 35, and the Common Sense Labs reference range is 25.7 to 35.5, so I'm just in there at the top of that range. I'd like to improve that, but I'm quite happy that I'm within range there. Now the HSCRP, that was the next one, wasn't it? Oh no, I'll do my fasting glucose. So fasting glucose was 5.0, and I have that here somewhere. All these bits of paper. So my fasting glucose, was 5.0, and as I said, the reference on the pathology was 3.0 to 7.8. If I convert the 5.0 to milligrams per deciliter, which is what the Common Sense Labs book has got it in, it comes out at 90, and the reference range in Common Sense Labs is 60 to 90, so I'm right at the top of that range. So I would obviously like to improve that and get that down further, but it's still within the reference range, so pretty happy with that at the moment. So 90 for that, and the Canberra says 60 to 90, so happy with that. So the insulin came in at 82, which converts to 11.808, and the Common Sense Labs has got this a standard reading between 2.6 and 24.9, so I'm kind of in the middle there, which is I'm quite happy with. But optimal is 2.0 to 5.0. I would rather be in that range, so we'll see what we can arrange over the next 6 to 12 months, see what happens. But still pretty happy with that. So CRP, so HS-CRP. So HS-CRP, if you don't know what it is, it stands for high sensitivity C-reactive protein, where C stands for the carbohydrate antigen. And it says in Ken's book, while often misunderstood as specifically related to only cardiac issues, this test is actually a non-specified marker of inflammation. Though it can be cardiac related, it's often due to other inflammation sources such as autoimmune diseases, issue or illness. And so I kind of expected my inflammation to be up a bit. I mean, I'm still overweight. I had actually had quite a lot of pain when I was doing the line diet, which I just came off probably a few days before I had these tests done, I think, or a week or so before I had these tests done. And I'd had a lot of pain, I think, from oxalate dumping. And so that's another thing, is I've got still having a lot of issues with oxalate dumping. And so the oxalate is acidic, and so it's going to create inflammation. That's why it causes pain in the body. So it doesn't really surprise me that my inflammation was up a little bit. And it came in at 7.6. Now the reference range, as I said, on the laboratory is 0 to 8, so it's within that range. But Ken's book says high is over 3.0. So high is over 3.0. I'm coming in at 7.6. So that's quite a bit over that. Optimal is less than 1.0. So my goal is to get into that optimal range at less than 1.0. I don't know how long that's going to take, but I kind of feel like I'm heading in the right direction. More testing, we'll find out. Now the next test was the vitamin D, and I was quite intrigued by this. I expected my vitamin D to come in low, like below the reference range. And that is because when I had testing done in 2011 and 2014, they were both low. So at that stage, I was living in Hba Bay in Queensland, Australia. Now, if you've been to Hba Bay, you know that the sun shines there most of the time. And we were on the beach. So when we lived there, we were living one street back from the beach. We were on the beach every day, at least once a day. We would go for a walk pretty much every day after I finished work, and in the weekends we were down there. We used to go down and sunbathe and swim all the time, almost daily. We used to ride our push bikes everywhere. And so we were always out in the sun every single day. And when I had my testing done in 2014, we had just come back from traveling around Australia for 18 months in a camper van living outside. I was black. I had the darkest tan I've probably ever had. And yet 4 months later, my test came in, vitamin D test came in low. So when I had the testing done in 2011, I'm just trying to find where I wrote this down. So when I had the testing done in 2011, so this was when I was diagnosed with overactive thyroid, my result came in at 75. Now the range on the lab report from there was between 50 and 300. Here with this one in New Zealand, the range is between 50 and 150. So I came in at 75. So I was in the range, but I was at the bottom of that range, or down pretty close. Now in 2014, this was after we came back from tripping around Australia in our camper van, I was actually low. I was at 49. And I had, as I said, I'd been 18 months living in the sun. We were living, even when we came back, in Hervey Bay. I was in the sun every day, on the beach every day, swimming, sunbathing. And the reference range starts at 50 and I came in at 49. So I remember my husband saying to me, why is your vitamin D so low? And I was like, no, there's something that's not working. My body isn't converting it into vitamin D. There's something that's not working. So when I had this test done a couple of weeks ago, I expected my vitamin D to be low. I mean, I'm living here in New Zealand. We're just coming out of winter. We've had the crappiest winter we've had in 8 years since we've been back. There's been rain, cloud, cold, miserable. I've hardly been outside. I mean, even my work, I walk out my back door under a carport to go to my treatment room. And so I don't even get out. I don't even get from the house to the car, to go to work. So there's been a serious lack of sunshine. I've been out a little bit, of course, but not much. And last summer was crap. We had very little sunshine last summer. I seriously feel really sun deprived. And so I expected my vitamin D to be really low, like lower, as low or lower than it was the last time I had it done in 2014. But my vitamin D came in at... So if you've been following me for a little while, you possibly know that I actually really like making designs for t-shirts and hoodies and other products specifically for carnivores. So if you are after a gift for yourself or another carnivore, head over to my store and have a look at my designs and see if there's something there that takes your eye. Now let's get back to this. My vitamin D came in at 81. The reference range here in New Zealand is 50 to 150. And the Common Sense Labs ranges, standard is 75 to 250 and optimal is 125 to 250. So I'm in that standard range and I have another 42 points to get to the optimal range. So that really surprised me. I would like to be higher. I'd like to be up over at the 250 or above. But I was really surprised and I'm quite happy with that. I'm intrigued to see how my vitamin D level is at the end of summer or towards the end of the summer, because hopefully we'll get some sunshine. And I'll make a point of getting out in the sun this year if there is sunshine. I would rather not supplement vitamin D if I don't have to. And so I want to see what happens if I just let it happen naturally and where my levels go. Now, when I got these results and I started looking at the food sources of vitamin D, I mean, most of the food sources are animal foods. The only plant source that I know what kind of plant is mushrooms. I don't know whether there are other plant sources of vitamin D. But there's vitamin D in a lot of our animal foods, including egg yolks, of course. And I stumbled across some info talking about the sun exposure that chickens and animals have had and how that increases the vitamin D levels in the food that they're producing. So that makes sense as well. I mean, I'm eating all grass-fed meat from beautiful New Zealand cows and sheep that are grown in paddocks here. They're never put into sheds or anything like they are in Europe. And I'm eating free-range eggs, so the chickens are outside as well. Now, apparently, if you put your eggs into the sun and the yolk is exposed to the sun, it can multiply the vitamin D content in the yolk by 3 or 4 times compared to eggs that are from sheds and barns. So that's something else that I was thinking about doing. I haven't done it yet, but I was thinking about when we buy our eggs, just popping them outside, open the carton up, pop them outside for an hour or two in the sun. I don't know how much difference that'll make in that amount of time, but I'd imagine that it would probably make a bit of difference. So just remembering to do it. So yeah, I'm quite intrigued by that result, and I'm looking forward to having more vitamin D checks done, in 3 months or 6 months time to see where they're at. So the last test that I had done was an ApoB, of course, and it came in at 1.19, and the reference range for the lab, as I said, was 0.55 to 1.30. So I'm in that reference range, which I was quite happy to be. Now the ApoB didn't do what I thought it was going to do. I've got a little thing here. If you don't know what ApoB is, it's apolipoprotein B. And there are different apolipoproteins. There's an A as well, but that test doesn't seem to be available via the lab that I'm going to. And it says apolipoproteins are the building blocks of lipoproteins such as high density lipoprotein, HDL, and LDL. Lipoproteins bind fats and cholesterols and shuttle them around the blood. Apolipoprotein B helps LDL bind to receptors on cells and deliver cholesterol. It's also necessary for liver cells to bind LDL and remove it from the blood. So it's an important thing. Each molecule of VLDL, IDL and LDL contain exactly one molecule of ApoB. This makes ApoB a measure of total non-HDL lipoproteins in circulation. In other words, ApoB is a measure of lipoprotein carrying supposedly bad, cholesterol. ApoB containing lipoproteins are the main contributors to the hardening of arteries and heart disease, supposedly. I put the supposedly on the end. Now, some people, there's a lot of the mainstream kind of doctors that go on about ApoB being a better test than the normal lipid panel, but then I've heard some of the carnivore doctors saying, nah. I thought that it was going to test my particle sizes, and that was why I got it done, but it doesn't do that. If I want to have a particle size test done here, it looks like, because I couldn't get I tried to get a lipoprotein electrophoresis spectrum done, and I had blood drawn for that when I had the second lot of testing done. And then after a week and a half, I found out that the laboratory, the pathologist, had refused to do it. So I had read online that might happen, and it did. I didn't realise that when I had it done. So I can get a testing done that will show me the particle sizes, but I need to get it done through an organisation called iScreen here in New Zealand, and they're quite expensive. They bundle all the tests together, so they have a bundle for cardiac stuff, and those tests are in there. But it's like $400 to get those tests done, and I can't do that at the moment, so I just need to forget about that test right now. So yeah, so that's my blood testing that I've had done so far. I would like to get more done as well, some different ones. I still have more on my list, but we have to move house soon, and we've got a little bit on, and with Christmas coming up, I'm not sure how much I will get done before then. But I'm quite happy with the testing that I've had done, and I'm happy with the results, and it definitely seems like things are heading in the right direction. It feels in my body like things are heading in the right direction. My weight still is just gradually, very slowly going down. I was saying to hubby this morning, my neck circumference has gone down by 2 centimetres, which is that's a sign of a health marker as well, when your neck circumference goes down, neck and waist. Both of those have gone down quite a bit. So yeah, pretty happy with those. My blood glucose has been doing some weird stuff lately. I'm going to do a video about that. Since I've started back on the berberine, it's actually gone up a little bit, but today seems to be coming back down again. So it's interesting because it's affecting my gut flora. And I'm doing some other stuff to try and correct what's going on in my gut as well. So I'm going to do a video talking about that soon, some really exciting stuff. So if you have gut issues, IBS or anything like that, do make sure to hit the notification bell so that you're notified when I release new videos, because this is something that I'm quite intrigued with, that I'm going to be talking about. I like experimenting on myself and then reporting online. So yeah, so that's it for today. If you've got any questions or comments, fire away below. And if you like this video, make sure to subscribe, and as I said, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on anything, and share this video with anyone you think might be interested. If you've watched through to this point, I thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you again another day. Goodbye for now.